Hey everybody, it's Carrie, and today, or tonight, I already posted one video today, but this is my second one, and I want to talk about incessant questioning as it pertains to jealous issues. So, what I'm talking about is when a woman becomes jealous. I don't know if this is true for men or not. I see this in women mostly. Jealousy can almost take on an obsessive compulsive quality for women. They'll get consumed with a thought or a doubt often, and they'll just ruminate on that thought over and over again, and it's heartbreaking, and it can come up anytime. You can be having fun with your friends, and something comes to mind where your husband said something like, that friend of yours is really hot or something, and it can just it can pop out at you at any time and spoil your moment. You can have a trigger of, like, when you go to the beach and you see all these beautiful women around and you remember your husband or your boyfriend, that time he cheated on you, or that time that he said that he wished you had boobs like that, or whatever it might be. We all have little scars from these things. It's like they're little burns that just give us like a shell-shocked feeling, and any little thing can set it off, and the people around you won't know you're suffering like that. So you could be having a good old time, and then something just snaps you right out of it, and it's really painful. But what I'm wanting to say about the obsessive quality is that a lot of times jealousy, which is such a nasty word, and nobody wants to identify themselves as jealous, but that is what it is. It's painful uneasiness about a doubt about your boyfriend's fidelity or your husband's fidelity or your girlfriend or whatever. But right now we're mostly talking about women. So basically, you're having doubts about your husband or your boyfriend's sexual faithfulness to you, and it becomes an obsessive thought. So let's just say that you caught your boyfriend looking at porn, and it just won't stop. I mean, in your mind, you're just going over it again and again, and like just the thought of him enjoying that, and like you felt so left out of it, and just it's so hard on a woman's soul to be left out from something like that. It's just really painful, and there's no call for anything but compassion when a woman's hurting in that way. There's no reason to be like, whatever, it didn't mean anything, or just be belittling or dismissive. Just let her cry, man. It's just painful. And maybe not all women feel that way, and I know there's women that say it doesn't bother them, and maybe that's true for some people. But I know a lot of women who would rather be the only one, that she would rather be with a man who only has eyes for her, and it's devastating when you find out that that's not the case, especially if you've already had children and you've already been with that person for a long time. It can be really painful to find out that you're not enough for them, because that is what it feels like. It feels like they're still shopping around for somebody else. So basically, so I noticed at some point that obsessive compulsive disorder has the same format as my jealousy was taking. So, and by the way, I don't think obsessive compulsive disorder is a mental disease, and I don't think that jealousy disorder, if you want to call it that, is a mental disease. I think everybody has varying degrees of unmet needs, and when the needs are unmet, people can act a little crazy, and so the answer is to get the needs met. And that's what all these videos are about normalizing jealousy, because I think it's rampant. And I think if people say they're not ever jealous of their partner, one of two things is going on. Either they don't care about their partner, or they're lying. So, that's, I can pretty much guarantee you that if somebody's never felt that way, then they may not care very much about their partner. So anyway, back to what I'm saying. Obsessive compulsive disorder is defined as an obsessive doubt, and then a compulsion, like a checking, to reassure that doubt. So let's say you forgot, everybody knows what obsessive compulsive disorder is. You forgot to turn off the stove, or you're afraid you forgot to turn off the stove, so you can't stop checking it. And then you check it and you feel relief for like 10 seconds, and then you feel doubt rising up again. You got to go check it again. So you're just stuck in this cycle of constantly checking and then doubting and then checking and doubting. That's the feeling of the jealousy, at least the type of jealousy I'm talking about. It's obsessive jealousy, and it requires a checking compulsion. It compels you to want to, and for me it was asking questions to get that kind of relief. I'd have to say things like, I would have to ask questions until I finally hit up on something satisfying. And here's the problem. No matter what I asked I'm going to use an example from my boyfriend 5 years ago. I would ask him a million questions about what he fantasized about, what he thought about while we were having sex, or while he was, looking at this sex scene on this movie, or, maybe his ex-girlfriend was at a party, and I wondered what he thought of her. Did he look at her body? Did he think anything? Did he get turned on by her? And, the questions were obsessive, but his answers never satisfied me, and it took me years to realize that I was asking the wrong question. What I really wanted to know was, hey, first of all, I'm just being ugly right now. I'm being unattractive. I knew I was being insecure, and I just wanted to know, can you love me while I'm being this nasty? If he had honestly just reached out and hugged me and said, come here, it's me and you, and nobody, you're not in competition with anybody, that probably would have been it. But instead it would go on into the wee hours, and I'd be crying, and I would look at his face, and he was tired of listening to me talk, or he'd fall asleep, and then I was just like, oh my God, he doesn't care. And another thing I want to say is that when a woman talks from her heart, it's almost like conversation is to women what sex is to men. If a woman got up in the middle of sex and walked out of the room, a man would be devastated. And that feels the same way. When a man interrupts a woman over and over, or shuts her down while she's trying to share feelings, it is devastating. And the only way to connect how horrible that feels is to think of if you were having sex and your girlfriend got up and walked out, or your wife. That would crush you. And that's equally offensive to women when a man falls asleep while she's talking, or, it's deep. So start to make that connection if you can, men, because that would go a long way toward making a woman feel loved. But anyway, so this obsessive compulsive type of jealousy is basically what I want to diffuse here. I don't think all women have it. I'm thinking it's a bigger part of the piece of the pie than we've ever acknowledged before. I think the main reason that people don't want to watch a video entitled Jealousy something, or the main reason they wouldn't want to title a book that, is because nobody that has that kind of thinking problem would ever buy a book or like a video with the title of Jealousy, because they would rather die than be labeled as jealous. That's part of the condition I'm talking about. And that's why I'm thinking YouTube's a great venue for these videos, because you can privately watch these and you don't have to like them, and you don't have to, you don't have to claim it, and you might get some help out of it. And by all means, if you do like the video and you want to comment, I would love the feedback. I really would. But if not, it's okay, because I understand and I've been there. But anyway, I'm just going to try to say a whole bunch of stuff about my experience that I'm hoping some women out there, because I know how lonely and desperate it can be when you're struggling with this stuff and you spend all day long wondering what your husband or your boyfriend's doing and stuff, and there's nobody out there that will step up and own that they've felt that way too. It can be so lonely. And I think that the healing is in community. I think that people will start to heal from this disorder, if you want to call it that, the minute somebody steps forward and says, you can throw stones at me, but I've struggled with this, and I didn't want to struggle with this. I didn't choose it, or if I did, I don't know the moment that I did, and I surely wouldn't want to torment anybody or henpeck anybody to death, but somehow I accidentally ended up doing that. And I'm just going to join the human race and own my shit and say, hey, I've been super jealous in relationships, and I don't want to stay that way, and I want to build a community of people that can come forward and say, I've been there too, and at least on some level I can relate to what you're saying, whether it's mild or extreme. And most women with this problem are going to say it's mild, but the truth is it can be really life consuming. So anyway, I'm going to post this video and see what happens. You're a part of it. We're all in this together, and I hope that, if you are able to comment, that you will give me your feedback on this. Thanks a lot for listening.